everybody. Another edition of Heavy in the Paint. Gerald Brown, Rick Mahorn, he's on assignment, but he's getting himself together. Nevertheless, make sure you subscribe. And also, make sure you check me out, as well as Rick Mahorn, SiriusXM NBA Radio, every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on SiriusXM Channel 86, and, of course, on your SiriusXM app. But let's move to the gridiron, because this gentleman right here, he owns a Super Bowl championship. He's paid his dues. He's a Michigan man. He's paid his dues on the coaching ranks, and now he's a part of the coaching staff of an unbelievable team that had an incredible season, if you will, the Indianapolis Colts. Legendary Mr. Cato June joining me here. Cato, what's good, man? How you
Joe,
doing?
what's going on, man? Everything's all good, man.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man. It's been a
I
minute and
know,
stuff
I
like
know.
that. You see, you doing your thing and stuff. I want to ask you first and foremost, looking at this playoffs as a whole, and really just if you look at the factors, you look at CJ Stroud. I look at it was a point in time, Cato, even last year. Just be honest, the AFC South was that terrible division because it was just so much mediocrity where quarterback play is really something that's been struggling through our whole league as a whole. But then you look at the AFC South and you look at the factors that, like I mentioned with Trevor Lawrence, then you have CJ Stroud, then you have Anthony Richardson, who got hurt, and Gardner Minshew, for you guys, stepped in and played unbelievable. What are your thoughts just as a whole on the division, as well as the quarterback play for the guys on the Indianapolis Colts, your team?
Of course, I'm always going to be biased to the AFC South. The division that we had so much success in the past, and we'll have hopefully in the future. It's been great, man. Like, you want to play up, as a competitor, you want to play against the best. You want to have some of the top talent that you're preparing for every week, and it's awesome to see a bunch of great young talent come in there, like you said, CJ Stroud, you got Levis down there in Tennessee, you have Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, and you got to see them twice. You got to go to their place and try to knock them off, and then you got to hold the fort down when they come to your place. So just being able to, three different guys they're very dynamic, that we have to go against, and we get to go against a very dynamic guy every day at practice, at least in training camp, in those settings. So in Anthony Richardson. So, the division is on the come up. I heard you say something very derogatory towards our division, try to demean us a little bit, but I'll give that a pass. But it is on the come up. We have some young talent, man, and it's exciting to, like I said, to go against those guys and prepare against a talented group of guys. And, why would you want to go against anything else,
Yeah. When you look at the Indianapolis Colts this year, obviously when Anthony Richardson, young player, got hurt, and then it was clearly a situation you thought they would probably take a step back. And the quarterback play was very, very inspiring. I think Gardner Minshew played phenomenally well. You work on the defensive side. I was very, very impressed, especially when they beat my beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers up there. Don't laugh. But you know what? That's where you get a check. I ain't mad at you about that. What are your thoughts on the defensive side, especially the fact is really Shaquille Leonard? Obviously he was a guy that clearly was really all pro and stuff like that, and obviously he's moved on. But that young core, it seems like you guys got a nice core group on the defensive side. I was very, very impressed with that. What were your thoughts on the overall defensive side, especially the linebacking core that you worked with this year?
Man, you got some phenomenal young talent. I mean, young meaning guys that are, new to starting, Zaire Franklin, and then EJ Speed coming in there, just being a flash playmaking machine. And he's been, since I've been here, and now he's getting his opportunity with the departure of Shaq to be a full-time guy. Like, those two guys right there are very dynamic. So it makes it easy to go into the room with guys that are the hardest working guys that are very talented and very committed to the success of the defense, and you have a bunch of young defensive guys. And I think the biggest thing this year, when you look at us defensively, and you mentioned Gardner Minshew stepping in when Anthony Richardson got hurt, was a next man up mentality. Like, no one's talking about us losing like two corners, during the year, and the next guy stepping in, like, who's going out there playing with the third and fourth corners? and still being able to win all a string of games and not really miss a beat in the terms of the unit. You know what I mean? When you preach, it's all about the team, and you see the team moving forward like that. I think those things kind of go unnoticed with some of the setbacks that you might have during the season. Everybody has them, right? But being able to, really just have a continuity of playmakers that stepped up, like I said, the next man up mentality. I think was awesome. We didn't quite get it done like we expected. Had opportunity, but like it's a learning experience, and then you go on into the off season with a bitter taste in your mouth, and then try to go back and retool and improve, and now you come back fully loaded. It's going to be exciting. That's for sure.
Yeah, you sound like a coach. And for those that don't know, I failed to mention, and what is a mistake on my part. Cato June was one of the original Bottom Line Sports Show family
Yes,
members.
sir. Yes,
He's
sir.
still family. He's still family, Cato June.
Yeah.
And Cato, I remember there was always a clip in which you said the Dallas Cowboys are fakers. You don't understand why people continue to talk about them. And they continue to let people down. Is there anything different? And how surprised are you the way they lost at home? And, is it time that we look at them a little bit differently and say the actual expectations that are placed don't really match up with the reality?
I'm gonna tread lightly here, but it's just been it's been unfortunate because when you look at that team, and when you're out of the playoffs, of course you can be, super, objective of everybody, right? Um, and you're out of the playoffs, and you're looking at it from ultimately, you're just not watching tape, you're not evaluating, you're just watching it as a normal fan. You see that team that on paper, it's like, man, that's a good team, like, and they're a tough team to beat. And it don't get it done for a number of reasons. I mean, it just happens. That's why you got to love the NFL, because you got to go out there and do it every week. It's playoffs is one and done. There's no series. So I guess it's more disappointing for the fans that feel like that was their year. This is their time. For us, as coaches, I'm not saying we don't care, but it doesn't really concern us. So it's disappointing because you look at it and you cheer for guys that say, hey man, they got a good team, and you expect good teams to put on, good tape, and sometimes it just doesn't happen like that. And I guess the Dallas fans and the Philly fans and everybody, the Colts fans, everybody's disappointed when your team gets knocked out. So whether you get knocked off by 30, you get knocked off at overtime with a field goal kick, you're still at home. You know what I mean? So
That was my bad. I don't want you. You sure don't want to mess up that NFL money. I ain't mad at you. Don't understand. I ain't mad at you with that answer. Don't you mess up that NFL money.
It's not your concern. You know what I mean? Like I said, like you work for the organization you work for, and of course I'm double dipping, right? Because I played for an organization, now I'm working for it. So of course, I have no love for anybody. So at the end of the day, but like I said, you expect, even as a coach or as a fan, if you're looking on, you expect good teams to do good things, and sometimes it just doesn't get done for whatever reason. Kind of is what it is for them, but it really doesn't concern you at the end of the day. Like, I don't get too emotionally attached to that stuff anymore.
Yeah. Cato June joining me here, Super Bowl champion in the NFL, coach joining me heavy in the paint. So, Cato, when you look at these playoffs thus far, what has been a team that's kind of stood out and something that's caught your attention thus far?
Man, you look at Buffalo and the way that they've come on and late in the year, and it's all about getting hot at the right time. And anybody that's had any depth in the playoffs or any experience in the playoffs understands that, and they know that, and they know it's about getting hot at the right time. And it's also about, you have to turn the switch on. Like, you turn the switch on. Everybody talks about, oh, this is a playoff atmosphere and this is like playoff like game. No, it's the playoffs is the playoffs. You know what I mean? And once you're in, either you're in, you're in. You've seen, 9-7 teams go in and end up in the Super Bowl game. So it can happen, and it does happen. But I think that ultimately you look at a team like Buffalo, who's gotten hot, those guys are playing with a level of confidence that, you know, that's been unmatched, lately. And it's just about, all right, how can we sustain this? How can we keep this momentum going? So it's always, like I said, when you're out of it, like you're not really looking at it from a eval standpoint. You just enjoying, like, oh, guys playing great football. You want to see some good football just like anybody else. So you're not cheering against anybody. You're just sitting back, kind of seeing who's gonna rise to be that next tier guy that get the opportunity to put on that ring.
When you look at Michigan, they kind of surprised a lot of people, and obviously, I know your allegiance should be to hail to the victors, go big blue, all that.
I'm trying to figure that out. Like, no, I don't, not to cut you off, but surprise who?
Y'all finally stepped up and
what do
answered
you
the
mean?
bell. Stop that.
We've just won more games in the last, 3 years.
You couldn't win the big game. Stop that.
It won. Okay, all right. Alabama is the only one that has consistently won and been in that game. They're the only person and the only team and people that can talk like that. On Alabama, only ones. Everybody else, no, I don't want to hear it. Alabama, all right, cool. All right, Alabama. But everybody else, what do you mean? What are you talking about? What's the expectation? Like, you win the championship or you don't? How many has people won in the past years? Okay, Alabama. They're the only ones that win multiple. Everybody else, be quiet. Just be quiet.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They expect that. We've done nothing but win more games than anybody of all time.
Have y'all won the big one? Have y'all finally won the big one? Besides that, were y'all disappointed about
what did we won in '97? I get it. It was 20-some years ago. I get it. But yes, we have won it. Like, just like how many national championships does any of the other schools have?
Well, I want to ask you about that because, again, when you look at college football, and I was one of the people that, at first on the surface, I was upset that Florida State didn't get in as an undefeated championship, and then just understood this is all about money. This is all about, everybody getting in bed with one another, making their money and stuff. And I'm not mad at that. But when
how can you say that? How can you say that?
Come on.
How can you say that to those kids? Like, so when that happens, think about it like this, Gerald. Like, when that happens, what you're saying to that conference and those kids that play in the ACC is that your best is not good enough, right? That's essentially what is being said. And to me, and I don't make the rules, and I'm not on a committee. You know what I mean? I'm just another person out here throwing darts at a system, right? But to me, that is unfair because,
of course,
you call it the Power Five. I get it, the UCF and and think about the other schools that they go undefeated. They've done everything they could possibly do, and it's still not good enough. Okay, great. All right, Power Five school. They've done everything they was possibly can, and they don't get the opportunity. Notre Dame got opportunity. Yeah, everybody knew they were going to go and get their head beat in. I get it. They got the money. They got the prestige. I get it. But all I'm saying is this: if you say this conference, even their best team, the quarterback, that's just not fair. Give them the opportunity to get their head beat in like anybody else. We got our opportunity. No one gave TCU a chance. They came in there and put hands on us last year, 2 years ago.
I agree with you. And I think that what has happened, and I'm asking you because you've been there, you've done that. Why don't they take the approach? And I think slowly but surely they're starting to realize, i.e. more money, because the other bowls are starting to be devalued, which I don't blame these players that you're playing in the meaningless bowls, no disrespect, that have nothing to do with winning a championship. Why don't they follow the model that is set up by college basketball? Put in 21 teams, whatever you want to see, 22 teams, and then you have the bowls represent the tournament, which leads to ultimate a championship. Why is that so difficult, Cato? Because I can't understand that. Nobody wants to watch a Cotton Bowl. Nobody wants to watch a bowl, Gator Bowl or something like that. That once was a prestigious event. But guys are not playing because I got to get ready for the NFL. I don't want to play. I'm getting in the portal. It was embarrassing. Why not, Cato?
It tough decision, right? As young man that's saying, "Hey, I'm taking my future." And you've seen cases where guys that say, Michigan man, Jake Buddy, I think he went out there in the bowl game and tore his knee up. His draft status was never the same. His career probably would have been, of course, once again, I'm biased to the Michigan guys, but his career would have been probably even better. You can't count those things, but these things do happen. So those decisions are made. However, what you're asking is for everyone to get together and give a little bit, which is not going to happen in a capitalistic society where everyone's trying to put as much money in their individual company's pocket. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So what you're saying is you want the Texas State high school foot playoff model, right? You got 32 teams and like that's great. Hey, and they have all these little bowl games, but guess what? Now you're talking about how many games you talking about playing?
You don't have to put 22 teams in. Put 12 in. I don't care. It just make the bowl game.
Yeah, but relevant. Now you're talking about an NFL season. You're talking about 20 games. That's a lot of football games for a college kid.
Okay, make 12. What are we doing? What we're getting to, and this is where I'm saying it's kind of like open up Pandora's box, because you have these massive Power 5 conferences. At the end of the day,
Power 2.5.
Power 2.5.
Because ACC got left off that list, which is unfair.
Right.
So
Power 2.5. But let's be honest. If I see Michigan play Ohio State and they get in the championship game, if they play, I don't want to see them play twice. Especially if Michigan is the better team, I don't want to see that. And what's happening is the conferences are so competitive, it waters down and devalues anything that resembles a championship, a championship game or championship tournament. I mean, would we wanted to see Michigan and Ohio State play again for the championship? No,
you wouldn't. Which is very difficult to do because they have to play each other. Now you have these losses, this and that. But what I'm saying, what you're asking all these individual conferences, all these individual companies who sponsor all these bowl games is to give a little bit, right? Hey, I want to give this person this. I want to give this person that. I'm going to take out of my pocket the money that I'm trying to make for this bowl game. Ultimately comes down to tickets and TV, right? What's the viewership? I don't know what the viewership numbers were. I didn't look them up this year. I looked in the stands and I saw, some very, whelming numbers looking at the stands. I'm like, man, that kind of sucks, right? You see some of these guys playing. It used to be almost one of those things like, man, you're going to a bowl game. You want to play on January 1,
right.
It's going to be hot. It's going to be, you're doing down south or you're going out west. You know what I mean? It's like, it's warm, man. You got guys playing in cold weather games and snow on the ground. It's bananas, and I get it. You want people to have the opportunity to showcase their talents, and their families want to see them play too. I understand it, but what I'm saying is this: people have to understand that as long as people are simply trying to make money for their organization, for their university, people are gonna always sell out for the money. Think about it. Did you see the Celebration Bowl? And you look at the Celebration Bowl. I saw a conversation going. It was talking about Howard and was it FAMU, right? So HU. I thought they was going to do it for the HU people, but we end up falling up short. But I think it was like 40-something thousand people in the stadium. Of course, it's not going to look like that in the Falcon Stadium.
Spread out.
Yeah, but you're talking about 40,000 people, and for them, that's a great environment, right? And you look at some of the other bowl games numbers, not so good. 15, 10, 20. Like, so you're doubling some of these so-called big name schools in terms of attendance, right, at the bowl game and viewership, but it's just to celebrate. You guys should play for a national championship. Why? Well, that's a hard sell to say we're getting just as much, if not more, viewership. We're in the middle of the pack in terms of how many people we have at the game, according to the FCS and all the other people in the bowl games. And you're bringing money back for the university. Ultimately, what it comes down to is you're talking about the money, you're talking about where it's going, and you're trying to compare apples to apples. But when you look at it, it's like, what decision do you make?
You know what? I think TCU was the closest thing we'll see to somebody like something like Boise State. Like, remember how like in Boise
Yep.
State was like kind of like the Gonzaga in college basketball, where you want to see David get in there to play against Goliath. You want to see those types of things. I just don't think it'll happen. In so many words, do you think the current model and system in which these conferences that are set up and so massive and so many teams, do you think that it can survive?
I think there's enough to go around, right? But in terms of what is the hierarchy of it, of course, that's going to change. It's ultimately changed. It's changing with the NIL. It's changing with ACC go undefeated. Florida State, not just the ACC. We're talking about Florida State. We're talking about one of the storied programs in college football. That's, to me, that's unprecedented. Like, it's like, wow, but it happened. So what are you saying? This is the model. This is the model they've set. So ultimately, now it's like, all right, where do we go from here? Because we've already opened that box. Now you can't back up on it. You can't go back and give Florida State another chance. Those kids will never have that opportunity. And it's unfortunate, it's unfair, but it happened.
Jim Harbaugh, what are your gut feeling? You think that this is the year? I think that clearly when you win, and let's be honest, when he was in the NFL with the 49ers, he was the guy that got that thing going, and then he goes to Michigan. He succeeds. He completes the mission that was the task at hand to bring Michigan back to prominence. Looking at him in the Chargers in LA, I think that's a win-win situation because you're starting off with obviously a quarterback. It's just been something that's been missing with that team. How do you see and how do you feel? How do you think about perhaps Jim Harbaugh leaving you guys' alma mater and possibly pursuing an NFL job, specifically the Chargers?
Oh, when you look at it, of course you're selfish as an alum, as a former player. You're looking at it like, you want to keep them, right? You want to keep them, keep them, keep them. The dynamics have changed in college football, and ultimately, I think for him, and I don't speak for him or anybody else, but you look at a guy who's been in NFL. He's a former player. He's a former player in Michigan. He's a former player in NFL. Former Colt. Shout out to Harbaugh. So, but when you have that competitive nature about yourself, right? You want to continuously press. My gut would say, hey, if the whole talk about going to the NFL is like have an opportunity and going and being Super Bowl champion, like the best of the best. He's been the best of the best, in college football for some years, right? And he finally won one, right? And everybody was like, oh, when Nick Saban won 10, oh yeah, great, good job, right? He's amongst all time. But and you can't take away what he's been able to do with the University of Michigan football program, bringing us back to glory and being on the mountaintop. So I got a whole year, right? So I can gloat a little bit, right? So you can't take that away from me, Gerald. You can't take it away.
I'm not trying to. I want to ask you this though, on a different level. There was recently over the Martin Luther King Day, Junior Day celebration. There was an iconic photo of the Fab Five all together, and there was so many issues and things of that nature. I think between Jalen and C. Webb, Chris Webber. But to see them come together, and they were actually at the game, the basketball game, they were playing against Ohio State. You being a Michigan man, what does it mean, first and foremost? What is the impact from your perspective on the Fab Five in Michigan? And then also to see them once again back together in that brotherhood.
Well, the beautiful thing is that time heals all wounds, right? So it's like that is the biggest part of that, like being able to see whatever kept them from being in the same place at the same time back at University of Michigan together. It happened. We're able to get past that stone was in the way. But at the same time, I think people fail to realize how iconic they were to the culture in terms of to the basketball culture, to the hip hop culture, to young guys to seeing five black dudes playing at Michigan. It's like that's crazy. Like, so understanding that concept, now I think is even greater impact being able to see them come back together. And now that people can start, you start to talk about these stories and tell these stories, and like I said, this healing that's taking place, can now continue on this legacy of the impact that those guys had on college basketball.
Yeah, and one thing, Cato, I always appreciate you about you, man, is obviously your honesty, your humility, but also you're well versed in so many other sports. And you and I were talking recently on the phone, and this really sparked my interest because I remember you and Ronnie Austin and stuff like that. Y'all be talking boxing, and I'm like, oh my God. And it made me think of you because, you know, boxing is in a very, very precarious situation. UFC is king. UFC is really here to stay, if you will, as more cities and states are accepting of the sport. And boxing, like I said before, has fallen on some hard times. There was a point in time the Terrence Crawford, the Errol Spence fight we thought would be something that would perhaps save boxing and give it a little bit of a sort of heartbeat. But now you're looking at the way Showtime, HBO have moved away from the sport. When you look at boxing, how much concern do you have that this sport could possibly be on its last legs?
I don't think it would be on its last legs. And you think about it, like we said that I'll say I was a youngin', but like they said it back in the 80s when Larry Holmes was a champ, and he's the longest running, champ. I think he had like 18 title defenses, something crazy like that. As a heavyweight champion, and people probably don't even know that. There was a period of time, and then here comes Mike Tyson. It's like, wow, this dude, he saved boxing, right? I think you go through those periods of time, but I think the boxing purists, are able to, because you still look at these arenas, Terrence Crawford selling out arenas in Omaha in Omaha, Nebraska, like 17, 20,000. Like, so it's not like people aren't coming to see these guys fight. Now, the networks, that's a totally different deal. And I'm not as versed in terms of, how those work and with the money and all that. But all I know is now with the pay-per-view, there's so many different pay-per-view platforms, right? So that people can watch. So that might have make networks step back to say, how many people are watching? Like we talked about Friday night fights. We used to watch that the night before the game when I was in school in Michigan. Like, man, let's get done with this meeting and highlight film so we can go back to the room to watch Friday night fights. You know what I mean? The night before the game, we should do that. So I'm disappointed to see Showtime go, HBO go. It hurts you, right? Because you just remember watching this stuff as a kid, and even now, like just being able to watch boxing, it takes a whole nother level, a whole nother layer just to watch a good fight, and then they keep you up to 2 a.m. I'm like, geez, like, so it's like there has to be some type of revival of,
Where does it come from? That's what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
the thing is, kiddo, when you talked about Larry Holmes, when you
Hmm.
had Mike Tyson, you had other guys that you could sit back and say, like right now, who is the guy that we would want to see Terrence Crawford fight? And the younger fighters that I was sharing with you, and we were talking about, we had, like you said, Friday night fights. You had the fights on CBS, and
Yep.
you had the Olympics and stuff. So we were able to sort of organically follow a guy's path to becoming a perhaps prime time or pay-per-view boxer. And I think maybe the last guy, second to the last guy, might have been Floyd Mayweather, and before that, Oscar De La Hoya. So that was the sort of blueprint for success. And now with guys having social media and all this other stuff, it really just doesn't resonate. We don't know. Like, you can't sit back and say, oh, we're going to have a fight party. You don't have anybody out there that wants you to say, oh, I think this person can win this fight. It just doesn't work anymore.
To be fair, I still have people over, and I'm gonna have a fight party. I might be
What fight?
I
Come
might be
on,
the.
kiddo.
What do you mean? We watched the during training camp. We watched several fights. We watched Terrence and Errol Spence.
Okay, that was everybody watched that. That was the sort of thing.
Of course, I'm saying that's the latest big fight that I was
But
just
no,
saying.
did
Like,
you watch Tank Davis and Garcia?
absolutely, just watched it just the same. No question, no question. Look, put like this. I think, like I said, the boxing purists are gonna be the boxing purists. You know, UFC is its own little deal, right?
Right.
Um, I think what has happened is that, like you spoke of the journey of the boxer. Like I remember watching Oscar De La Hoya. I remember watching Floyd Mayweather in the Olympics. Now it used to mean something. You come back home with the gold medal for the USA. What does that really mean now? People probably don't even know who won the gold medal for last year or the last time the Olympics. You just don't know. And if you couple that with this popcorn microwave society of success, it's like, all right, who's the next guy we want to be? Well, it takes time to get to 18-0, 19-0, like bringing the guys along, like in order to get to the stardom. Now it's like, okay, what's the big fight? And then they lose one fight, and then we're done with him. Like, no, he lost one fight. That doesn't make him, we don't say that in UFC. We sit there and watch a guy that's 7-9 and a guy that's 8-6. Like, you like, these are the champions. Like, he's like 6 fights. So to a boxing purist, it's like, dude, you can't. How you get 6 opportunities at a championship? Jeez, you got knocked out 5 of them.
I want to ask you this, though. Tell the truth. I need you to tell me the truth on this and keep it real. Have you been having fight parties with Logan Paul or Jake Paul fighting?
No, I can't do it. I can't. But you know what? But I'm gonna tell you what he does. He does a phenomenal job of putting somebody on that card. You be like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it because, and then you watch a really good fight. If you put together a good card, it is what it is. Hey, I tell you what, they do a great job of handpicking the random person that people have fans of, and he goes and make a bunch of money. And it's not been good for the sport as it relates to like the up and coming guy that's just chopped away, been in the gym his whole life. His daddy trained him, all that. And, but it's entertainment. And unfortunately, if it comes to that type of space will kill the pay-per-view Floyd Mayweather. Like, in Floyd about to fight Pacquiao again, like,
I don't know, man. It's
like I saw some. I'm like,
exhibitions. This is where I'm talking about, Cato, where the sport is at now. That you can have guys do exhibition fights on pay-per-view. Like, if Floyd is going to garner fight somebody on an exhibition fight.
Well, who else is going to put up the money? Is ESPN going to put up the money for? Like, it takes a lot of front money to get to that point. So it's like, okay. Somebody's gonna put up the money. Then we're gonna put it on pay-per-view. I'm gonna sell seats. I'm gonna get it back on in the living rooms. I mean, kind of it is what it is. At the end of the day,
I think you did get one of the pay-per-view fights. You did a Logan Paul.
Hey, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Hey, all I know is this. It hurt me, but what's my man name? Oh my gosh, not Ray Leonard. It was oh my gosh, Evander fought him back like one of his last fights. Evander got knocked out in an exhibition. That hurt me. I'm like, come on, man, what are we doing, man? Like, Roy Jones is still fighting. Like, Roy Jones fought like 3 months ago. Like, he fought a real fight. He's not fighting exhibitions. He's fighting.
This is what I'm saying, that Cato, the sport, it's like, I don't know, and I think, like you said before, the boxing purists are few and far between, and I mean, it's just really gotten to the point that we saw the decline from the heavyweight division carrying the sport to going down to the welterweights carrying the sport, to actually the middle to the welterweights, and now you might even say what the flyweights might have to carry the sport, but I mean, it's not a good situation. I want to get back to the football. A day in the life during the off season and the season for yourself. Talk about that whole experience. And what is it like for you this off season now? Because really, in all honesty, you would think that the NFL is it is 365 days a year. So what does the off season consist of for you?
You know what, the beauty of being in the league is that when you get your time off, you know, that's your time off, and you get a chance to recharge and be with your family, uh, and just kind of be normal. And then the wife gets mad, like, "What you doing? You're messing up the flow. When you going back to work?" You know, it's kind of funny. We joke about that, but like, the beauty of it too is that like you work all week, and then you know your weekends off for the most part. So that part of it is much different than college football, which you know I'm talking to guys that they're saying that, you know, there's no days off anymore. You know, recruiting is nonstop. You know, they're working every day. You know, whereas June used to be, you know, all right, you got your camp days. Now it's every day because you got guys coming in on campus every day. You got camps. You got it's unbelievable. So it's like, you know, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that where I am now. The season is a grind. Season is a grind. It's a longer season. But you get used to the routine of it, and at the end of the day, like right now, you know, like I said, you get to be normal for a little bit, and then you'll go back to, you know, preparing for the combine, preparing for the draft, free agency, that sort of thing, and kind of get into the spring, and what you guys want to do better, and how you want to improve, and you know, and it's just a whole process that kind of continues, kind of uh,
So
repeats itself over and over again.
so you'll pretty much get started some in February, right? And then it's like
Yep, yep.
February combine, and then it's obviously getting ready for the
Well, you know, you
draft.
got free agency, then
Yeah.
draft prep. You know, you're doing the evals and stuff like that. So you're doing that preparation while you're doing your self scout stuff. So you know you're doing your evals and your self scout because you really at that same time you're preparing for the guys to come back when they come back around April or so, March or April, whenever you know whenever your setup is. So that part of it um, is kind of cool.
Do you have to be? Is there a situation where you have off-season workouts and stuff like that? Is there a situation where you have to be at the facility a certain amount of days where guys that pretty much are still in town are still coming by the facility working out, or is that something where it's like best to get away and really, like you said before, try to focus on just really recharging batteries?
Well, everybody's schedule is slightly different. You know, the time frame of it and the rules are different too in terms of when you can have like physical contact in terms of meeting with them and that sort of thing. When they're training, they're training. You know, a lot of guys. You know, some guys train in at the facility, other guys train other places. But for the most part, when they're due to be back during the voluntary sessions, most of the guys are back. So it's like that part of it, having the team together, and guys really working towards the same goal while they're doing the training and you know when we have our meeting times and that sort. It's very structured in terms of how much time they're not you. It's not like college where you can you know, you spend a whole lot of time in the off season. You know, like those things have changed. The collective bargaining agreement kind of controls a lot of how your schedule goes. But it's good though because you know you do spend so much time when from camp and to through the season. I think the schedule is great. And like you have ample time to implement you know all your new defenses, your old defenses, and offenses, that sort of thing, all your schemes. There's plenty of time to get all that in. You don't have to feel like you need try to get extra time on the side. Like so, the time with the way it's structured is I think it's very efficient.
Yeah. What does it mean for you to be able to be a part of the coaching staff for a team that you played on in a city that you had a lot of success for?
It's awesome. It's awesome to kind of come back and work for the family, the Irsay family, and then you know just be a part of the Colts family. You know, I mean, you're always going to be a Colt, but now you're back working in that same space. You know, trying to uh, get things rolling again, and that part of it is you know you're very grateful to have the opportunity, especially as a former player, guys that are in the coaching ranks that have the opportunity to kind of coach, you know, with the former team. I think is a cool little deal because there is a connection, all right, to the city. There's a connection to the team. There's connection to the fan base already, and you know, not to say that's going to drive it deeper. in terms of the feeling and the will to win. It should be the same no matter what. But like there is a special connection when it has that when it has that opportunity.
Yeah. Now you have D'Amico Ryans, who has ascended up, from defensive coordinator. He is now head coach of the Houston Texans. Antonio Pierce is a hot name that is out there, had a lot of success with the Raiders. What is the aspirations you have for yourself, being a former player that's paying their dues and has paid his dues from college now into the pros and stuff? What is the aspirations of Cato June?
The same, man. You look up and you continue to build. Be a linebacker coach, defense coordinator, head coach, and if those things are for you, they're going to be for you. You can have your aspirations, and you just kind of follow stay the course. You stay the course. So the one thing about the course is looking good because you got Gerard Mayo, you got Pierce, you got D'Amico. These
Yeah,
are all
yeah,
these are all linebackers. All
yeah.
the head coaches. So you know what I mean. So apparently, you want to get to a head coach. As a former player, linebacker is not a bad. You got Vrabel. Vrabel is a former linebacker, the head coach. So you look at that ascension. It's beautiful. You see the guys that have played the game that you played against, played with. Get these opportunities. Guys that you compete against. So it's a beautiful thing, and then you just hope that you've had the same amount of success and have the opportunity to kind of to grow and be around good people, and things will happen the way they're supposed to happen.
Yeah. So, okay. So before we close on out, give me a Super Bowl pick that you have. And I know you don't have any concern because you guys season don't, but you are a football fan. Just like I don't still hold it against you for letting D'Angelo Williams, when you was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, run all over our defense and stuff like that. I've forgiven you somewhat. I've forgiven you because I watched the tape.
Hey,
Some
man,
of that
it
you was
happens,
out of
man.
your assignment. You wasn't in your gaps and stuff like that. But I've
It
forgiven you
happens.
for that. Yes,
It
it happens.
happens.
But when you look at these playoffs in the Super Bowl, give me a teams and stuff like that. Give me two teams that you would think could end up in the Super Bowl. And then
Ooh,
you can say Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean,
you know what? I would. I would
don't
like to
lie
cheer
like
for.
that. Stop that.
Hey,
Stop
look,
it, Kato.
I got love for
Namdi, yo,
Tampa, man. I
Namdi,
played for
I gotta call
Tampa.
you
I
by
got
your
love for
government.
Tampa.
Namdi, you stop that, Namdi.
I got
Stop that.
love for Tampa, man. I got love for Tampa.
You
But
do. You ain't
if,
running for
if
office. Stop that.
I'm not running for office, I'm just saying I got love. I got to cheer for Tampa, right? What I mean, got to cheer for him, man. You got my
Yeah.
man Larry Foote. Larry Foote down there is the co-DC. Todd Bowles, like, come on, man. Like why would I cheer against them? That's all I'm saying.
Well,
You
you
know.
know what? You see the helmet there, right? You see it. You see the
But
helmet.
you know what? Like I said, right now, Buffalo's kind of hot. If I'm gonna go wild, I'm gonna go wild. I'm gonna go Buffalo 49ers.
Ooh.
Buffalo 49ers, you know what I mean?
You're not believing in the Honolulu Blue. Restore the roar.
I
They
love
dance.
it. I love what Campbell's been able to do. This it's awesome. I mean, it's just it's an emotional roller coaster ride. Like those guys, you got to think like 30 years and just that thing that they've been able to do and overcome that nobody else has been able to do in the last 3 decades is awesome. And you see those guys playing with passion and energy. I remember we practiced against them. I'm like, man, this is awesome. You could tell that like, they are believing. You could tell when a team's believing what the message is of the coach. And when you look at it, like, man, these guys are believing. That's what you saw this year with our teams. Like these guys believe in Steichen in terms of what he's put together in terms of the tenets of our program and how we want to run it. And that's when you can have success if the guys believe, in the leadership in the way that they're going. You could tell those teams, the energy moves different on those teams. It just does. So
It's been I think, almost 60 years since they have won 2 games in the playoffs. I
oof.
look at them, if they get to the Super Bowl, that would be the equivalent of the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Steelers that year, where you had the Cardinals.
Yeah,
I think it would be a David and Goliath, you know.
If Detroit makes the Super Bowl, Vegas will sell out of Cartiers. I can promise you that. Detroit is going to buy them out. No Cardis in Vegas. I can promise you that. You won't be able to get none. Like the Cartier boutique over there at Caesars, they might just go ahead and pull the things down or order extra because they coming. Like Deion said, they coming, Jack. I can promise you that Detroit is coming deep into Vegas and getting all the Cardis. You ain't never seen more buffs in Detroit making anywhere.
Oh my God! Hey, listen, Cato, man. I tell you this, man. I'm so happy for you, your family, to see your ascension, man. And I've always appreciate, you know, all the insight you provided when we were doing the show, the Bottom Line Sports Show, and just to see this path and you go after it, and to see you ascend to this level, being, you know, with the Colts on the coaching staff and stuff. And definitely I'll be putting my order in. I just anything, you know, whatever you got, yo, if they got staplers, you got garbage pails and stuff like that, send a brother something, man. But
I got you, man.
I hate when brothers do that. It's the same thing when Penny used to say, "Yeah, I got you," and then finally used to start sending stuff. But all jokes aside, real talk, man. I'm just happy for you, man. Go after it, continue success in all that you do, and you might want to just go ahead and screen your phone calls come All-Star Weekend.
You coming?
But if you need,
I already know. I might be calling you. Hey, man, yeah,
that's what I'm gonna say. If you need some help, I got you on the front with the All-Star Weekend.
I appreciate that, man.
No, I got you, man. Just let me know. But listen, man, enjoy this time off, man. Keep grinding, and definitely appreciate your time, good brother.
All right, man.
Cato June, Super Bowl champion, joining me here, Heavier the Pain.